When we first were married, he would get mad at me because I was late for church. When I met him, though, he was partying. So let's talk about the double standard.
This was in contradiction to my own narrative. If I'm speaking prophetically of my wife, telling her she doesn't want these things, while at the same time dying in myself over not getting them. And I'm the fucking problem the whole time.
And my marriage sucks. I wanted to spice it up. And guess what? For the first 30 days, she was still ice cold.
Our sex life is like the fruit of the intentionality in our marriage. And so it's not just like, oh, we feel like having sex. It's like all the right things are there to create that environment for us.
Well, my friends, welcome to another episode here of the Date Your Wife podcast, where we bring ourselves and other powerful couples to have conversations that you want to have, but you are scared to have. And encourage you to move forward in a powerful way in unifying you and your spouse in a powerful way with your kids and your family. The only way we're going to take back this country and take back the lives that we really want is for families to become tight again. And that requires couples to actually communicate, have sex, and be on the same page. So we have a special guest couple today. And I can say the following. There are two people who I would claim are my pastors. You may not even know I claim this, and it's kind of a weird claim because it's like kind of on the outside skirts. It's like, bro, you kind of have to like go to his church to actually probably have him be your pastor. But I had such an amazing experience getting to spend time with hundreds of his men at an event he had at his house. It was unlike anything I had experienced before. I get invited down. I show up, and there are just the manliest, coolest dudes ever. We're rolling cigars. We're drinking whiskey. There is all kinds of fun talk happening, and I was introduced to speaking in tongues. That was new for me, and that catapulted just a soul connection with Dr. Hubbard and his beautiful wife, who we got to spend time with, and of which I told my children they could come to the water slides. We have not gone to the water slides. I've heard about this every day since I've gotten back.
Come
Welcome.
to the water slides.
I know it. Tell us about the water slides first.
Oh, so
How did
fun.
these water slides happen?
How
I
many
have to
feet?
sign
How many feet is
a
this?
waiver for all kids now that come because we've had too many, not concussions, but it's mostly older dudes that want to show that they're the man. And I just had a pastor come over. He goes, watch this. And all us guys are down by the pool, and he Supermans this 60-foot concrete slide. And he's not a lightweight. And he just didn't realize there was a corner in
Which
it.
was newly slicked.
Newly slick, yeah.
slick
And
corner.
so he literally, all we heard, we were down by the pool going, oh, let's see this. And we're cheering because it's way up in the air. Sends it full send. And then we heard his head. He went up like this. His head sounded like a watermelon. Knocked himself out cold. And what woke him up is when he hit the water. And we're thinking,
Oh my
we're
gosh.
gonna
And
be
you're
praying
thinking,
for,
do you pray for him or just him?
Just
Do
him.
chiropractor?
Is this slide in your backyard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's massive. Did you guys build it?
No.
No.
So miracle house for us. And we loved the house until we walked in the backyard. And this guy designed a pool. It's 120,000 gallons. So if you know anything about,
Massive.
I wouldn't have known before, but now I know because it costs a lot of money if you accidentally drain it.
Which we also know.
We
You
accidentally
found that out?
drained the pool.
when there's 17 pumps and motors and you turn
And
one
you
valve.
experiment.
I wasn't experimenting. I was trying to get more efficient. It has a lazy river. So it
geez.
has this massive
Really?
lazy river with jets. And
massive.
it throws you around this.
And when we bought the house, we weren't given instructions on anything really. And so he's over here trying to figure it all out.
and
Like this is
That's how you learn.
Drained the whole pool.
no, thank God I didn't drain the whole pool, but drained it to the tune of $5,000. And then I thought
geez.
I hit the right valve and filled it up. And the next day it drained again, another $5,000. So
geez.
that was a $10,000 pool draining experience that I learned real quick. And I actually got on YouTube. And I'm pretty much a master. I know more about pools now than most pool guys.
He does. He teaches our pool guy how to do it.
I literally, at this point, should own if I
Here.
had time, I would own my
Could
next.
be a pastor, chiropractor, and pool guy.
Yeah, I'd be a pool guy.
You're just
and
being
I'm
my
actually
pool.
really
You could
good
be
at
my
it.
pool boy.
Oh,
would be-
you are.
You wish I
That leads us right
You would
into our
love to see.
topics for today.
If I looked as ripped as Garrett, I would be your pool guy.
Oh, you
I
are.
would wear that outfit and be. But
What
right
is
now,
the outfit?
The outfit is
The
no
outfit.
outfit.
Yeah. If my
Wow.
real pool guy wore any kind of outfit, I'd be like, ah.
Okay, so talk to me. You two are pastors. Okay, so how did we're going to back in from this direction? How did this become a thing? Like you actually decide, because it's not like that's the only thing you're doing. So I have pastors who that's all they do. They're pastoring. That's what they do. But you also run a chiropractic clinic. You guys are investors. You do all kinds of things in entrepreneurism. Plus, you took this on. So, coming from the beautiful female perspective, how did you back into this pastoral game?
Almost every day I wake up and ask how this happened.
Yeah.
But it's amazing because it was obviously God's plan. So when we first started going to our church, I wasn't even saved. And
I met her on the way to Vegas on a Southwest flight.
Yes.
And I literally just made a commitment. You know what? I lived a checkered past. I met an incredible pastor that kind of, redeemed church hurt, if you will, redeemed growing up in it, going, there's no way. And I said, man, I probably shouldn't date a while. I got to work some stuff out. And sure enough, I'm on a flight to Vegas and I see her.
Is she sitting next to you?
No, but she saved a seat. I said, we were in the airport. And
this is a whole story. Do you want to hear the whole
Yes,
story?
No, we'll do the quick. I don't want to
give us the story. We want to hear this
It's an
roll
amazing story, but it is a full story. So how we met, obviously, was also God ordained, because this doesn't happen. Like, I'm 22, San Diego State, living my best life, partying. I'm dating a few people. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, 4 years, all during college. And I thought this was my moment of freedom. And so I met this guy. And
yeah, she was, I was really trying to save her.
I wasn't that interested at the time. But
did you even notice him when he got on the plane?
Well, we met in the airport, and
Okay.
I noticed him because he would not stop walking around. He would not sit still, and he would not stop flipping his hair back. And I was like, why won't that guy sit still? I was sitting there minding my own business, and he will not sit still.
He's trying to get your attention.
He literally, I was like, I was bothered by him before I even talked to him.
Were you pacing her like a lion?
No, here's what happened is it was the last flight. It was delayed. There were so many people in the San Diego airport. It's small, it's tight. So I was like more annoyed. And then I heard these group of guys, and they're all chatting about this girl and who was going to go over to me. I'm looking at them going, these guys are such tools. And I was watching them, and I look over to see who they were all talking about. And I was like, oh my gosh, 20. No, you weren't even 22. You were 21.
Was I still 21?
You were
Wow.
still 21. Yeah, when we met.
Baby.
So I just said,
Just a baby.
so I'm 9 years older.
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted. And there was, the whole airport was packed. The only seat that was open, the reason why it was open is because, there's always that one seat in the airport that everyone throws their
Bags in.
newspapers.
They used to read newspapers. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's just a stack of newspapers. I walked over, kicked them off. I sat down next to her. I had a GQ magazine. And back in the day, it's weird that I know this, but the cologne back in the day was EC Miyake. If you guys remember that.
Like
So
big.
every guy was wearing the same cologne. It drove me crazy. So I'm sitting there sniffing all the samples, and I looked at her, and I just finished reading that book, Good to Great.
Yeah.
And I leaned over to her and I said, hey, can you help me find the next EC Miyake?
And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, the guy that was annoying me is now sitting next to me. And then, of course, he tries to talk to me and is
She was
successful.
so annoyed.
You're
She
like,
was-
okay,
she was
successful.
so ticked because the flight was delayed. I've never
I
seen
had
a
a
woman
bunch of
text so
girlfriends
fast.
in Vegas waiting for me. A guy that I had been seeing was there waiting for me. So I was like ready to get on with this. And then this guy walks in.
Yeah. So she's sniffing cologne. She goes, oh, that's okay. And she goes, oh, this one's good. And I said, tagline. I should send this guy some money. as
This
like
is
an
good
honorarium.
game,
I
bro.
said,
This is good game.
If you settle for good, you'll never be great. You got to find me a great one.
And I
That is some
chuckled. I'm
game.
like, okay, this is interesting.
You're like,
And
oh,
I
that's
said, here's what's going to happen.
I'm
Because
fascinated.
they're calling our thing up. And back in the day, it was, now it's numbers.
Yeah. The
Yeah, back in
zones.
the day, it was ABCs.
It was just ABC, like
So
the whole
I was
group
a
of
C,
A's.
she was an A.
Yeah.
And I said, here's the deal. See those guys over there? They all want your number. So here's what's going to happen. You're an A, I'm a C. You should probably save me a seat, and I'll buy you a drink on the way to Vegas, and we'll have great conversation. Otherwise, one of those, I did say tool, which was probably inappropriate, but appropriate at the time. I said, those tools over there are going to sit next to you, or that real large, sweaty person over there. Either way, it's not a win for you. It's a win for you.
He sold me on saving
Sold
him a
me.
seat.
So guess what? I got on
So
thinking,
I did.
she saved me a seat. I got on, and I'm looking at her back on the left, and I go, oh my gosh, she saved me a seat. It's my lucky day. Sat down next to her, and then I walked up to the flight attendant, and back then they didn't take credit cards. It was only cash. I had no cash on me. I walked right up and I said, hey, listen, bro, I just promised this girl a drink. Who knows? It could be the girl I marry. Don't you want to be a part of that story? I said,
Sold
I only
him
have credit
also.
cards. Is there any way you could hook me up with a round?
yeah.
And so I want to be a man of my word. So he goes, bro, I got you. This has never happened before. We sat
Never.
down. The minute we sat down, we hadn't taken off. We hadn't even got our seatbelt on. 2 drinks.
Oh,
So
But-
at this point, you are like, well, could we pause real quick in the game? Because
Yes.
we run a program called Paid and Lead Protocol and another program called Married Game with my best friend, Keith Yackey, teaching guys what you're demonstrating. Like you are like, this is like elite level game. You have a very hot 21-year-old who has no interest in you whatsoever, is being hunted by
And he
19 other
convinced me to
lions.
marry him.
Exactly. The seduction started in the first all of the game
Yeah.
of 5. Like I'm just putting that out there, gentlemen. If you had even 1/10 of the game of Pastor Hubbard right now, you'd probably be pastoring a church too.
Yeah. The funniest part is so then he brought another and another, and I was in the middle. I was in business mode, so everything was about building my business time. I didn't drink barely at all. If I did, definitely not on school nights. So now I'm a couple drinks in,
And you're buzzed.
feeling even more bold. And by the time we land, this is how dumb it was. This is my only mistake. This is how I knew God had to get in there. I was so overconfident, I never asked for a number.
He
And
gave
so-
me his number.
I gave her my number, and then she had told me she was there for only her girlfriends.
Yeah.
So
I didn't
was-
include the guy part.
Didn't include the guy part. So I had been taking care of the Maloofs at the time for a long time, chiropractically, and from Sacramento, huge Kings fan. So they'd fly me to Vegas anyway. So this first time ever, I've never asked anybody. I'm not into star power. I don't like to take advantage of people, but I called, one of the Maloofs and I said, hey, I may have just met my wife. She's in Vegas. Is there any way you could hook me up at Ghost or Rain? They were the hot stuff at Palms at the time. And he goes, oh, I got you. He got me tickets to the boxing fight. I called my other buddy who's a chiropractor for all the Cirque shows. He's like, oh, you know what? I got to take care of Celine tonight. And why don't I just get you VIP? You get the girl. I'll introduce you guys to Celine Dion. We'll go over the top for you. I'm like, sweet. So I had it all lined up. So that night, she never called me. And I'm thinking to
Well, I'm
myself,
living my best life with my girlfriends and my whatever the boy was called. I don't even know what he was.
oh, I know. He was the pilot.
Yeah.
He was a Marine
He was
pilot.
a fighter pilot, and he was in Vegas training, and he lived in San Diego.
Yeah. So anyway, I was going against Top Gun pretty much, and she never called
And he
me.
had no idea.
So I showed up to Celine because my buddy's waiting for me.
Oh no.
We go back afterwards. I'm in the green room. Celine Dion walks in, and my buddy introduced me, and she goes, "You came to my show tonight?" I said, "Yeah." "By yourself?" I said, "Well, I was supposed to have a girl." She goes, "Oh, okay." No judgment, but she was looking at me like, why does a straight single dude come to my show? She was pretty much clowning me is what she was doing. And I was like, oh. So I went home on Sunday very humbled. She never called me. And if it wasn't
And
for
I've been
my
humbling
mother-in-law,
you ever since that day.
you have
Okay, so we're
then
coming to
when
the
did he-
female side. Talk to us about what. Okay, so he's putting on full court press, gives you his number.
Yep.
Begin your side of the
So
story
I
with get the number.
have his card in my purse, but I don't honestly think twice after that. And I'm like, just go out 3 days Vegas, get home, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I met that chiropractor. I need to tell my mom. Like so random because we've always been under chiropractic care as kids. My mom loves chiropractic. It's like
She
one
was
of
like
her
a raw
best friends
fetus
was
at the time.
chiropractor. Like it's our whole lifestyle revolved around chiropractic growing up. And she's like, so I call her, tell her, I'm like, oh yeah, I met this chiropractor. And I don't even know why I was telling her. She goes, Kayla, you need to call him. I'm like, for what? And she's like, just call him, just say hello. And I'm like, oh my gosh, mom, I'm calling him, but I'm doing it only for you.
Oh, that's funny.
So fast forward, we met on a Thursday or Friday.
Friday.
And then this is the following Wednesday. So I'm getting ready to go out in Pacific Beach, which is college night down on a Wednesday night in Pacific Beach. And I'm going out with my girlfriends. And I find his card and I'm like, oh yeah, I told my mom I'd call him. So I pick up the phone and I'm like, he answers. It's Wednesday night, like 7, 8 o'clock something. He's wrapping up at his office and he answers and he's like, hello. And I'm like, hi, this is that girl you met on the plane to Vegas. And he's like, oh my gosh, you never called me. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just calling to say hi. Like it was the most strange conversation. And he's like, well, where are you? And I'm like, I'm going out with my girlfriends in Pacific Beach right now. And he goes, oh my gosh, where are you going? Because I'll come down and buy you a drink with all your girlfriends. And I'm like, oh, free drinks? Okay.
yes.
So then,
Did you guys not live in the same city at the time?
well, he was like 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
So pretty close, like
Yeah.
San Diego. And I was at San Diego State. I lived near San Diego State at the
Yeah.
time too. So he just showed up. So he shows up down in Pacific Beach, buys us all drinks. We hang out. And I'm like, all right, well,
But I did say this. I got my bearings back, even though she awestruck me on Friday after she wounded me that first set of rejection in a while. So it was good. But I'd said, hey, for all I know, you could be the devil. So if you want to
so
go on a
this is
date,
the night he invited me to church.
Yeah, I said, you could be the devil
That
for
night.
all I know, but if you want to go on a date, let's do it Sunday at church. Because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back. I'm looking forward. I'm trying to, like, I'm not dating to date. I'm dating to marry. And I don't
And I'm
want to get
dating for
enamored.
fun.
She's dating for fun.
You're like, whoa.
And she goes, okay, I'll come. So she comes to church with me on Sunday. She literally gets saved on the first Sunday she comes.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
it
So
was
also-
radical encounter.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that, so my mom had just gotten saved as well, probably like a year before that, and my brother right before that. And so they were always in my ear trying to get me to go to church with them. So the seed had already been planted.
Yeah.
And then when he invited me, I was like, okay, sure, I'll go. Because I was already kind of like, that was already
Thinking about
stirring
it.
in me. And I said yes, and I went and gave my life to the Lord that day.
How does it?
But-
This might be a dumb question, but what does it mean when you get saved?
That's a great question.
Oh, it's
You know
like-
what? We're so
awesome
Christianese
question.
at this point.
I know.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
It's just
because I mean,
the vernacular
you
I
assume
know.
everybody knows, but I'm like, you went one time, you got saved. How does that even happen?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great question. So really what the Bible says is Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and there's no other way. And so when you give your life to Jesus, it's pretty much just saying, hey, God, come into my heart. Jesus, come into my heart, redeem me. And when you give your heart to him, you're pretty much saved from, damnation, if you will, or you're saved from, if there's an eternal life, there's heaven and hell. There's two choices biblically. And so when you say, oh, I'm saved, it means I invited Jesus in my heart and he saved me. And they say when you invite Jesus in your heart, your name is written in the Lamb's book of life, eternal life. And so that word saved becomes such a Christian thing. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
'Cause I always say,
Yeah.
Well,
Hey-
I hear a lot of people are like, I've been saved. I'm like, what does
Yeah.
that mean?
You know?
You know?
Or you could say, I became a Jesus follower, or as long as I don't become a Jesus freak, I'm fine.
But is it something that you do? Like you go to church and you just invite Jesus
So-
in
No,
your
you
heart?
can do it right here. It could be
It could be
anywhere.
anywhere, but for me that day I went, and because the seed was already planted, and I was raised with Christian values, just without church, so good morals and be a good person and all that. So
You just forgot them while you're at San Diego
I had
State.
I had all that
You go through a window where it's
foundation.
foggy. It's
yes,
fine.
it was foggy for a minute, but I had all that foundation in me. And so at the end of the service, when our pastor gave the altar call, basically
invitation.
invited people to respond to inviting Jesus into their heart. It was an instant yes, because the foundation was already there.
What did you
And-
feel? Did you feel it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah?
absolutely.
What did it feel
First
like?
was radical.
So it is amazing because at that time our church was probably only like 3 or 4 weeks old. We were in a Marriott hotel room. There was probably like 30 people. So there wasn't like all the bells and whistles
Was this
like we
Awaken
have
Church?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing started with you two getting saved. Oh, no one.
I was
so
there
this-
at week 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And this is 4 weeks later. And I just
Wow.
knew I kind of made this commitment, and I knew what my life looked like before.
Yeah.
And I was raised, in a great Christian family, but I never saw fruit. I never saw power. Then I meet this radical pastor from Australia.
Pastor
who
Jurgen.
I literally,
Pastor Jurgen,
Pastor Jurgen. So I actually was still going to church 4 weeks later. I know my mom was praying for me like crazy. She was like, please get back to church. So, I mean, she was all in, but she was praying for me because she knew I was so radical over here. And I literally was still, I think at that thing, going to church to prove Pastor Jurgen was a fraud. I was literally going because I needed to make sure that this couldn't be legit, but I was feeling something so radical, but I'd never seen radical. I'd just seen religion. I've just seen, at the time, I did not like Christians and I definitely didn't like pastors, but here I was going. And so when she got saved, Pastor Jurgen was walking towards me. And in my mind, I went to default due to church hurt or due to just upbringing. I go, oh crap. Here he comes. He's about to tell me, she just got saved. You probably shouldn't date her. I was waiting for the speech because I'd heard that speech so much. Oh, she's not a Christian, whatever. And I went to Westmont College, which was a Christian college. And those girls were more wild than probably San Diego State girls. So I was like, my mom, when I graduated, she cried that I didn't meet my wife at, a
College.
good Christian school.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, I'm glad you got a degree, son. I'm just glad you made it through. You know what I mean? And I'm like, Mom, you don't want me to marry one of these girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when she got saved, I was waiting for, here's the speech. He walked up to me and he goes, bro, did you see that? I go, yeah. Are you about to give me a speech? And he goes, what speech? The speech where you're going to tell me I don't need to date her because she's like new and I've been, raised my whole life and she doesn't know anything about the Bible. She didn't even know, David and Goliath, Noah's Ark. She probably doesn't know. I know what you're going to say. We probably need to. And he goes, are you an idiot? I'm like, what pastor calls me an idiot? And he goes, if you don't date her, some of these other guys are going to date her, and we're going to have to deal with other issues. And I go, oh my gosh, I can date her? And he goes, you better date her. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Yes.
So that's where it started.
So I would say I didn't have any like preconceived religion or anything in me. So it was really easy when, the gospel was presented. I'm like, yeah, I want that. And I felt total peace. And that's the only way I can explain it.
How were you
just
both
total
raised?
peace.
Like
I
what?
was raised like Catholic, but not
Okay.
like
Not
Christmas
like Orthodox, but
You're
like,
recovering
Christmas and
Catholic.
Easter,
Yeah.
going to church and good values. Really good parents with good morals and values,
Right.
but not like consistent church.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was raised really
We
in
raised
church.
like deep orthodoxy, like
opposite.
intensity.
No, not deep Orthodox, but my on my dad's side, they were very Presbyterian.
Okay.
Which, I always joke around, saying they're the frozen chosen, And then my grandpa on my mom's side was a Baptist preacher, pretty much from the South, that went Lutheran, which is like, and, but it was amazing. So my dad's side, it's like, you don't even play cards in his house because that could be darkness.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And then over here, we're playing every game there was. So I was like so conflicted. But here's what I saw. My parents genuinely loved Jesus, but they grew up with no power. So meaning they knew
Of him.
it's like they knew salvation, but they didn't live the promises of what the Word of God says. And so I saw no power. So I was actually turned off by Christianity because I saw a lot of judgmental people. I saw a lot of hypocrisy. So I said, nah, it's not for me. I'm just going to live my life because you know what? This is weak sauce Christianity and I'm not into it. And then after 32 years of marriage, my parents, I saw the pastor didn't get involved. So I was like, oh, that's weird. Say, go to your pastor if you're having some issues. The pastor didn't want to go there. And then they went to a Christian counselor, which was the worst advice I'd ever seen. And so they ended up getting a divorce. And after 32 years, I mean, what are you going to do? And they both now, looking back, were like, what were we doing?
Yeah.
But here's what happened is they got to see our life. And now they know what power looks like when it comes to authority, living out the Christian walk authentically, real. You don't get more religious. And so that's why Pastor Jurgen was such a unicorn for me. He wasn't religious. He just walked with this authority. He was living what the word says, but he wasn't judgment. He had lots of grace, and he was walking me through every mess I was in, which was super empowering, which is what the foundation we built our family on.
Right.
You would have to drag me to church. And I went out of two things. One, I don't mess with my dad. He was a Marine. And my mom, man, they don't make them like they used to. She's tough as nails. I come from a lineage of strong women. So it's like, don't mess with my grandma, my great grandma. My great grandma went back to Arkansas, stood over my bed at 6 a.m. and she goes, no man sleeps in past 6 at this house. I'm like, well, I'm not a man. She goes, you are today. I was like, I'm 9. It's like, that's the type of,
I'm
love
9
it.
years old. Leave me alone.
So that's how it started.
That's how it started.
But our kids, my whole point with telling you that, you'd have to, if we don't take our kids to church, my kids are ticked.
They're mad at us.
They're mad at us.
They
Like,
love it.
so it's like, it's such an oxymoron in my thinking still. So she only knows this.
Yeah.
I don't, I had to get healed up. It probably took 6 years to heal
Well, and
me
you know
up.
how you heard about speaking in tongues?
Yeah.
You mentioned that. Well, for me, that was easy because I didn't have any preconceived religious mindsets or anything. But for him, it took him a while because he had all these ideas like
Tongues is from
I
the
shouldn't be doing
devil.
this.
Yeah.
So
And
it
you
took-
could just
I
like
had to get-
tap in and like listen to what your soul was feeling, and you're like, that makes sense. You know?
Yes, it just
She got
everything
baptized
just
in the
made
Holy
sense
Ghost,
to
and
me.
like I watched her life change overnight. I'm like, there's no way. We weren't married at the time. I'm gonna let my girlfriend get supercharged. So now I'm just trying to get rid of all religion out of my brain.
Yeah.
I have been programmed.
Right.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get this junk out of me. Like, I don't want to be that guy. And every once in a while when I hear my brain, because you can go to defaults under stress or whatever, I have to look to her and I go, I call her a pure blood. You're the pure
The
blood.
untainted.
She's not tainted. So I'll be like, babe, what's my filter? She goes, yep, that's a filter. Or she'll go, no, that's right thinking.
Yeah.
So I lean into her because she has zero religion in her. And for me, I still deep down in there, every once in a while, that little religiosity pops up and you just got to delete it.
Well,
You know
we were
what's
both
crazy?
raised like in.
I was gonna say, like, that goes in every, like, you could be Mormon, Christian, Buddhist, like there's like the tactical way of doing things, and if it's it might serve some people, and then there's like the authentic people that are living a certain way. So that happens in like every religion. I feel like it's not just Christianity. It's
Well, we were raised in Mormonism, and I was like, my mom was like very hardcore Catholic, and then she met my dad, and then she became very hardcore Mormon.
Wow.
My dad was like a soft Mormon, and my mom was just hardcore everything. So she had the double checklist, which was, I'm Catholic forever, but now I want to be this guy, so I'm going to be Mormon, but I really like Catholic, so we're just going to be Catholic Mormons. So there was this double checklist of like, this is how you live your life. She grew up in a totally different environment. You can tell us why your parents even decided to be church people at all.
Yeah, my parents actually didn't even join the Mormon religion until I had a brother who passed away. And so this really brought him into being Mormon, brought him closer to God that way. Yeah. And so
It wasn't just passed away. He had been through all these heart conditions and surgeries for years. And finally, like 7 years of age, he's over at a neighbor's house. He's finally recovered from all these surgeries, like 5 years. He's finally healthy. And like within 6 months of it getting healthy, he goes to a neighbor's house and gets shot in the chest with a gun and dies. Like him and another kid were playing with a gun in the neighbor's house. So her parents are just... He's a construction guy. She's a realtor.
I can't even tell the story without crying. So
like it's just so fucking heavy. And like, so they're clinging to the idea. And the idea that got sold in Mormonism was you can be with your family forever. So they're like, whatever that is, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to ever not be with our son.
What's interesting, my mom had 3 sons and a daughter, and she thought she was done having kids. And after he passed away, she decided she wanted another baby, which was me. And she always tells me the story, like when I was born, we both had the same sty over our eye, me and my brother that died. Oh. And so she just like always like connects us together. Yeah. And so I understand like my mom, how she was raised, and even me leaving the Mormon culture, she's like, oh, but I don't know if they 100% believe that. I mean,
I was raised like, this is how it is. I mean, it's the weirdest thing to be raised in because you're raised in a superiority complex. You're better than everyone. You're the only one with the truth.
Yeah.
And the wildest part was I could be in this path for so long and never actually have a relationship with Christ. Yeah. Never have a communal relationship with God. Yeah, but I had a relationship with like, you're fucked up and here's the checklist and here's why God hates you and this is why you're banned forever and this is why you're not going to get there. And they would do these circled chairs. Like it was this big thing in the Mormon culture was like no empty chairs, which was this whole concept of if you fuck it up, you just fucked up everybody behind you. You fucked up everybody in front of you. Intense. So everything's like this eternal pressure of if you masturbate, everyone's going to hell. Everyone so like as a kid, you're just like,
whoa.
I just did it again. So everyone's going to hell.
Intense.
We're in trouble. And she was raised different.
But I was raised, like I felt like when I would go to church, I never really felt like, the spirit or anything. I didn't really get anything out of it. I remember thinking like, I'm just going because my parents are making me go. Mm-hmm. And I don't really feel like I connected to God until I actually left the culture. It might work for some people, not to say they can't feel the spirit and it does good for them, but for me, I knew from a young age that it wasn't my path. So for me, it was easy to walk away when people are like, oh my God, you left the church. Was that so hard? And I'm like, I never connected to that church. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I can see how it could be hard to my mom.
Has it caused like issues in your family?
It did for a bit.
In the beginning, when we first did, it was just like, oh my God, what's wrong with you guys? And all this guilt and shame. And then we were like, peace.
She was way more peace than me. I mean, with me,
well, you went on a Mormon mission. And when we first were married, he would get mad at me because I was late for church. And I was like, but
I was that righteous guy.
When I met him, though, he was partying. So let's talk about the double standard.
You don't time for church. You don't believe in God.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Coming to church. Hi, brother. How are you? I haven't been yelling at my wife for the last 10 minutes about being late to church.
Version.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know any other way. Like my role models for men were either aggressive drinking athletes or they were buttoned up, drink too much Diet Coke. Like the Mormon guy was taught to like, the good piece about it is they're all taught like you better get your shit figured out now. Yeah. There's no fuckery for decades. Like you're 19, what are you doing with your life? You're 21, you don't have a career, what's wrong with you? Yeah. So like there's a sense of like you have to go. So you see a ton of dudes that come from Mormon culture that are great at sales, entrepreneurs. They're great at door-to-door solar because they've just learned how to deal with rejection, but also a sense of like I have to go.
The standard is like so high for that culture. It's just
I remember seeing like the Rock Church when I was in Mormonism, and they were like, it said the quote was like, no religion, all Jesus. And I was like, that can't be.
Oh, wow.
Like I had no concept. I remember walking into a non-denominational church the first time and I was like, it's like a fucking rock concert.
Yeah.
I don't even know
It
what
was so
to do with
uncomfortable
so
for us.
awkward.
Like,
We're like sitting there in Arizona
Because you're
going,
raised, everything's quiet.
What is
you
this
pray,
about?
a Song,
Yeah.
Be reverent.
You'd feel like that at our
Yeah,
church.
but we'll go to an NBA game and lose our mind. And then I'm
Yeah.
watching these same dudes that are meant to be, they're emasculated in
Yeah.
church, drove me crazy.
Yeah.
and that's as we've kind of gone down the path because we really distanced ourselves for 15 years and all of our families banned us for like 5. Like we didn't talk to our families and everybody banned us. And our whole network was Mormonism. So everybody we knew in business, everybody that we did life with, all of our friends, everyone. So when we left, it was like leprosy. We don't even care if you go bathe yourself in the River Jordan 7 times, get out of here. So we just like clung to each other, ended up here in Orange County in this pursuit. But it wasn't until like 3 years ago that we really started even. If anyone quoted me a scripture, I was like, got something for you. Go fuck yourself. I want nothing to do with what you're saying. People would quote shit in my comments on social media. Quote, I was like, hey, good copy and paste scripture guy. How about you tell me about your man tits? What's wrong with you? Don't talk to me about what you know about God. Your life is a wreck. And then I was seeing thousands of guys come into our programs who were just as like screwed up as I was from all kinds of different Christian faiths. Yeah. But they all had this common thing, which is like, how do I connect to God through all these scars that I've now been given my whole life? And so most guys just abandon it. And most women will just follow whatever the guy's doing. Yeah. That's why like a woman gets active and goes to church, maybe the dude's going to come, family problem, go, it'll probably die. For whatever reason, when a guy gets into it and goes or chooses a path, like it's influenced our whole family.
Yeah, and I will tell you that I'm not everybody's cup of tea at our church. You know, it's because I come from that, and I'm never going back to that. Yeah. And the truth is, I also have this crazy bent. I know what it produced in me, like why I rebelled, like why I kind of took a left turn. And the enemy's always he's looking for everyone's Achilles. Where can I trip up Hubbard? Where can I trip up White? Where can I trip up? He's been playing this game for thousands of years when we're just we get one and done. You know what I mean? So here I am, watching this, and I look back and said, thank God my mom was praying for me because I was making some dumb decisions. But now I got 3 kids that I'm training up. Just train them up in the way they should go. And, they're not going to depart from the Lord if I do it the right way. So I take full responsibility now because I know how I was raised. I know where my church hurt, but I'm not going to sit here and be a victim and blame the church or blame my pastor. I'm just going to suck it up and learn from it. But now that I get to shepherd a lot of people, I take it as serious as a heart attack. Yeah. Like, I don't tolerate fake Christians. I tell people all the time, if you're looking for Christianese, you're going to hear a sermon today and check the box and say you went to church and check in on Facebook that you went to church and you're going to look all holy, but you're living a different life. Don't come to my church.
Well, Pastor Jurgen's 3 words for our church is fresh, real, and powerful. So we take the real part very seriously. And yeah, like he said, not everyone can handle it.
Why do you think, is in your experience being pastors, like as you're getting, we know what it is from our side. In our world with the training and coaching and consulting, I just literally became a minister 2 days ago.
Oh, was your thing expired? So you had to review.
I'm official.
Come on, you can marry people.
I'm
a minister. Exciting.
I'm a minister.
He's marrying one of his buddies in a couple weeks.
Come on.
You can call me Pastor Garrett J. White if you'd like. I'll wear my tag tonight.
I'm just going to say, it sounds good, but then once you get that pastor thing, it means you're responsible.
Yeah.
And that shepherding, like we're all going to stand before the Lord one day, and if I don't go around. Matter of fact, I'm very careful who I introduce it because I'm responsible on some level. And I take it pretty serious. And so when I marry people, I straight up tell them, my signature is going on your thing. Yeah. If you guys are going through it, who's your go-to? Do you have accountability? Do you have real couples that you could talk about real issues? If they say no, I said, I'm not signing this until you give me some couples. And the truth is, my name's on this, so you can call me anytime. Yeah. This couple we're working with, I've worked with them for 7 years, was with him through the divorce. It was massively painful. Yeah. With the rise of his company going public to $1 billion. Like I was there vision boarding with him to manifest his queen.
This will be the 3rd couple you married.
Yeah. But this, like we're deep rooted. They were here at our house for like 4 or 5 days with their newest baby. Like, so there's that for us. I am that guy for him. That's why they asked me.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
I miss everybody. Like, hey, we want you. They actually sat me down and they gave me a box with like these black socks that I'm supposed to wear that are like married socks. That it was a joke, but they're like, hey, they gave me a box of socks. I'm like, what is this? And like, you have been the most important person in our lives, like for the past 3 or 4 years, and we would love you to marry us. And I was like,
and wear these socks.
And wear the socks.
Come on.
with
You know
shoes
the
too.
socks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this piece, part of what I know you guys are into, you would like run couple workshops, and we don't run couple workshops. We just get to deal with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's never specifically, let's do a couple workshop. We went to a couple workshop with Ocean Church, and we're like,
We should do a couples workshop because we
okay.
both know how to run events. We just haven't put
but
anything
you
together.
two are like, and Pastor Mark and Rochelle are like amazing. And that was their very first one putting on. Their church is incredible. We love Oceans. And knowing you and now getting to know you better, these marriage conferences have to be real.
They're so fun.
Oh.
I
They're
mean,
so
real. Like
fun.
you have 450 couples at the conference
That's the
you just
last
did?
one. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have our next one coming up in June. We were just dreaming about it yesterday, actually. Had some meetings. So it's going to be super epic. But yeah, I think that's why people
We push the boundaries.
are
have
attracted
We've had
to
a
it.
couple people, that have some that are religious that come, and they're tweaked because they can't believe.
Because our philosophy is fun and holy. Rule number 1, love Jesus. Rule number 2, have fun. And so we just make it so fun. Like some people can't even believe that they're going to a church marriage retreat and it's that fun. Like, yes, you are allowed to have fun. Like you are allowed to enjoy your marriage, enjoy your life. And we teach people how to do that. And they're like, oh, okay.
I mean, literally, hotels beg us to come back, and their entire staff at the Esmeralda, literally, they were all started coming to church after that because they could not wrap their head around what just happened. They were in the back. I looked at the back one time when we had some of our speakers going, and it was like half the hotel staff was just in there watching, like gleaning. We've had tears, and then we just did it at La Quinta, and they were like, "Please come back here next year." I'm like, "Well, you're gonna have to level up some stuff, but we want to."
So one of the topics that is a topic that no one wants to talk about. We talk about all the time, like all the time on the show. We talk about it on our events. I talk about all my guys. We talk about all the girls. We now have tons of powerful female trainers now openly speaking about sex, and they're like even recovery. It's just a rebirth as women, finding their sexuality, their sensuality. And
I think it's such a big topic when you were raised in like a really orthodox religion or whatever it is, and it's hush hush, shame, guilt, and so then people get married and they're like, oh, this is wrong. I don't know what I'm doing, and there's a lot of like hot topics around it. So
before we talk about how you address it at the event, what is like the premise on sexuality for you two as a couple? Like, did you start off with something? Was it great when you started and then it got bad, or was it good the whole time? Is it amazing the whole time? Like, everybody goes up and down. We literally asked the guy at the gym like 2 days ago, we're sitting with Keith, and this guy came up and started rolling out by us, and we go, hey, question for you. You married? Yes. How many times you had sex in the last week?
Just met him and asked him that?
Yeah, it was just dude stuff. Okay. And he's like, and he started telling the story. Well, my wife just got pregnant. Well, there's at least one. So you got her pregnant. Okay. He's like, yeah. He's like, I got an 18-month-old too. And I go, oh, you're in the married with like young baby pocket, dude. How are you doing? He's like, not good. Like, which is what we see in our older guys. The babies come, sex drifts, affairs happen. Marriages fall apart. They can't seem to reconnect. And then we got guys, 15 years, we had guys that's on our Works for Christ call yesterday, are having sex once every 2 to 3 months. Mercy sex. These are dudes that love God. They have no idea how to change it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to talk about it. The women don't know how to talk about it. So how have you two as a couple been able to address this topic of sex?
Honestly, it's not an issue because we don't make it an issue. And I'm the type of person that looks for people that I respect in different areas. Yeah. A lot of people look for one person. Like you could be my business guy. You could be my, I don't. I have my wheel of life. So I have my pastor who helps me grow spiritually, and he's also in my marriage realm. So I have him set up in 2 areas on my wheel of life. I have someone in business. I have someone in every chiropractic. I have all these coaches, if you will. Yeah. It's my board of directors. And we have always, since day one, aspired to have 2 couples that, man, we want our marriage to look like that. They might suck in business, but their marriage, I want that. I got my business coaching. And so we have been so intentional. We went through, you probably heard a life book. I mean, Gary's big. So the Butchers were great friends. John and Missy inspired.
We were painting a vision for our sex life way back.
Way back.
We just started.
I mean, those two like set the standard. You remember we went to Life Book in Chicago?
Yeah.
Back in 2008.
No, we stayed at their house. I mean, we went into their sex room.
Yeah.
And he had
So we
aromas
did,
pumping
like,
through the house.
We started off
that
on the
dude
right
had
foot.
game, bro.
Like we got engaged at the sex pad of the century, apparently. So like little did I know.
Yeah, John and Missy gave us their downtown. We didn't even know.
Yeah.
They gave us their downtown.
You guys went on your honeymoon to the sex pad of the
No,
butcher?
didn't go to our honeymoon. We
got engaged.
We got
at their sex pad in Chicago, downtown Chicago.
They didn't call it their sex pad.
No, we did. I did. I was like, this must be their sex
It is
pad.
a sex
You know,
pad.
I'm like a
Downtown
22-year-old
condo.
enamored, like with everything.
They
going,
were
this is
so
amazing.
intentional
It's
about
funny.
all their senses. So when we walked in, we're like,
It smells so good.
and I'm looking at my wife.
And they had a picture printed of a photo and framed, printed in the bedroom, like on the bed or on the nightstand of us, just to bring like a personal,
I mean,
you
they
know,
went over the
make
top.
it feel
And so-
personal touch, you know? So everything was like over the top.
So they inspired us from.
And yeah, they inspired us, but also like I was the girl chasing him down the road because he wouldn't have sex with me because I didn't understand, again, no religious background.
Right.
So I didn't understand the problem with having sex before marriage. And so this was something he had to deal with. And he's like, get me out of here. And I'm like, come
Horn
back.
dog. She was
Come
straight
back.
horn dog, 22. And I'm trying to be this leader. And so this is how funny it is. I mean, just to give context, because
You're
people
like
need to hear
running
this.
away and she's ripping your t-shirt
No,
off.
we were sitting
No,
on the
literally,
couch.
I was like,
And
why
Pastor,
won't you have sex with me? This is how I get everything I want from anybody that I want.
See, you already understood the power way
she knew the
before.
power.
You knew the
And,
superpower.
you didn't even tell the story. So my sister-in-law, she's a hairstylist. And the funny thing is she was graduating beauty school and she wouldn't go out on a second date after church with me until I cut my hair. And back then I was
because
like,
remember I told you he flipped his hair. He
Yeah.
had the hair like down to
his
here.
Point
and
Break, man.
he thought he was Keanu Reeves. He was like doing this all the time.
I was
And
like,
I'm like,
putting it behind my
my
ears.
sister needs to cut your hair if we
we're
can
gonna
go on
a
another date.
Yeah. And so I went like this right now. So her sister just graduated cosmetology school, cut my hair in their kitchen. I said, now you're stuck with me.
Oh, geez.
And that was a good foundation. But so I was trying to be this new version of Matt Hubbard. You know, like, you know what, I want to lead right way. I want to start these principles right. So as hard as this is, I'm going to have to say no to this. And so we were sitting there watching a movie, just starting to kiss or whatever. And I'm like, uh-oh. we teach couples the horny scale. Young, like
scale.
married couples.
So we say
Scale.
like,
Horny scale.
The horny scale?
Give us a horny
Oh,
So
scale.
this is
I
for
teach
pre-marriage.
Christians this.
So
You
if
should
you're
see how
like-
sweaty they
Is there a
get.
graph?
People start going like this.
scale
People
from
start,
1 to 10. If you're not married and you're in the same room together
and you're
one
trying to
of
do
you,
it. Yeah.
if you're wanting to stay faithful till you get married, then if you're on a scale from 1 to 10 horny, after an 8,
We said
Then you can go for it.
no.
then you
No,
gotta
she would
get
tell
out
me.
and
You're like,
dodge.
no,
Get
Sam,
out of
forget
Dodge.
it.
So we were trying to stay pure until that
I
wedding
was like,
night.
then it's a green light.
No, we're
No,
trying to. So
we
we're
had to
trying to
practice
teach
this.
these young married couples, like, bro, you're gonna have to learn self-control, and some days you're not gonna have it, and some days she's not gonna have it. So, like, if Aunt Flo's in town, I know she's a 0. You know, so I don't have to worry about any of that. So, but we were on the couch one day, and all of a sudden I go 9. And she goes, I'll never forget this. She goes, 10. I immediately jumped up. I started running
This is the
towards the
time he
door because I
ran.
know it's going
And
down.
I took my shoes off and started throwing
So
them.
she goes, get back here now. She chased me down. And I had a Range Rover at the time that had really loud exhaust. She lived in an apartment complex. And I jumped in it. And people would always say, can you drive slow out of here? Because you're waking up, the alarms are going off. I started that thing. And I knew I could hear my brain. What are you doing? You're running from a woman that wants to have sex with you right now. And I said, oh my gosh, get out of here. Get out of here. That's a devil on one ear, little angel on the other. Run, call your pastor. I literally called Pastor Jurgen. I'm in the car. And she's chasing me down her apartment complex.
Literally.
Throwing shoes at me.
Because the shoe
screaming.
closet was
Could you
right
imagine
there.
an
It's the
apartment complex screaming,
first
get
thing.
back here and have sex with me.
The first thing I could grab was shoes.
Yes. And so I'm in the car. I call Pastor Jurgen. I said,
Like, how dare you?
I said, I
Dare
never
you
thought I'd
ditch
call
me.
you with this as a problem, but my girlfriend is chasing me, trying to have sex with me. What do I do? He goes, drive as fast as you can, get to your house, turn off your phone and lock your door. Whether she shows up at your house, do not answer. I'm trying to help you get through this. No man can survive this. And he was so real. And so literally the next day, it's like she'd calmed down. Our
didn't do
jets
that
were
anymore.
cool.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. Like,
So we had already had sex before this, and then I got saved, and then I was trying to grasp these principles of following Jesus, and so they're still kind of working themselves out, obviously. And then our pastor sat us down, and because we were 4 months away from our wedding day, and they just said, can you guys be faithful for 4 months? And then God will, on the other side of your faithfulness, totally bless your marriage in this area. And so we decided to do that. So this happened in the middle of those 4 months of us trying to be good.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing is we fulfilled that commitment.
Awesome.
And then on the other side of it, our marriage has been really blessed in that area. And it hasn't been a struggle, but I would say there's been seasons where we've had to be more intentional because kids,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and life and stress and all the things that we carry.
But we don't miss date night. We don't miss our coffee break marriage agenda.
I would
These are
say,
the things.
like,
we have lots of tools.
Our sex life is like the fruit of the intentionality in our marriage.
Yes.
And so it's not just like, oh, we feel like having sex. It's like all the right things are there to
Yeah.
create that environment for us between date nights and the things that we do
So
together.
date night became a thing for us. I mean, this is the name of the show, Date Your Wife, right? And we were blown away at the number of couples that don't.
Yeah, they just don't go on a date.
And like they
Yeah.
don't. You're like, when was the last
That's-
time you went out with your spouse?
That's the ABCs.
Yeah.
Do
right?
the thing. This is what I always tell guys. Hey, you know the things you did to get the girl?
You got to keep
Just
doing
keep
that.
doing those
And
things.
you
Yeah.
like
keep
actually
the girl.
Life Book and doing that program is what taught us that. And we, before we got married, we started that date night every single week, and it's non-negotiable. Like literally our entire church knows that Thursday night is Matt and
No one even
Michaela's date night.
bugs
No one
us.
even calls us that night.
They know
Everybody
that.
knows.
That's awesome.
Right.
They don't mess around with Thursday nights.
It's crazy because like we got married. I mean, I was 20 or 27, and then we stopped dating. We literally stopped dating, had 2 kids, and that's when we like almost got divorced. I was like, what happened? Like we
Yeah.
were so disconnected, and it was back in when the market crashed, and it was a real like eye opener. It was like I don't even know if I'm connected to you anymore.
We weren't
And then
connected. Like,
we weren't. We had babies together and we had a life together, but we literally were like, okay, at the time we had 2 kids, and I'm like, okay, well, I have 2 kids now. Like we've got to like, I say this lightly when women are like, oh, I stayed in the marriage for the kids, but I'm like, yeah, I wanted to stay in the marriage for the kids, so I was willing to put in the work.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, well, what do we got to do? And we had no money. We were broke as shit. And he's like, we're going to go on date nights. I don't care if we go to Taco Bell and pay the babysitter
That's
more
right.
than our tacos, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's not about the money. It's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
And I would tell you that the reality of, this line is hurt me, but it is the truth. But our wives are a product of our husbandry.
Of course.
So if you're not happy with your relationship, bro, then you're called to lead better.
Yeah.
And that's a wake up call. And to a lot of guys and to me, I have to lead better. And then so I want to do who inspires me. And everybody goes through seasons inspiring, like our buddy Gunderson, man. He went 365 days. He hired a personal assistant just to help him come up with ideas because he ran out of ideas after day 10 of could he do something sweet for his bride every single day for 365 days. He could be that committed in business. He could be
Right.
that committed in his, right now his physical physique. He knew how to be disciplined, but he realized, man, my marriage sucks. I wanted to spice it up. And guess what? For the first 30 days, she was still ice cold.
Yep.
It wasn't until the consistency and the
Yeah.
consistency to break off some of the guarding that we can do with our heart subconsciously and consciously. We guard our heart. And what happens is he finally broke it down and he created all these new habits, came up with all these new ideas. And I was so inspired by it. I'm like, bro, I don't have time to hire a PA just for this or the resources. Can you-
Except one tip of advice is don't have your PA buy your your wife's birthday cards or anniversary cards.
Yes, I took it
lost
to
my
extreme.
ish when he did that. I'm like, you better never do that. You're going to walk your little butt into the store and you're going to
you're gonna
read
buy it.
17 cards and you're going to pick one that says
Yes.
the most cool things about me.
yeah.
Babe, you didn't know I had to go buy 100 different cards and then I would pick the ones I just had in inventory.
Now
I
you
was
know.
trying to
Now you know why
backstop.
you can't send me flowers.
Well, she loves the flowers, and I went into business mode with them. Same process, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this flowers a couple times a week. I was going to the flower
You go
shop,
actually pick them up
and I was bringing
That's
them.
the
And I was
right
like
way.
sitting
But
there one
no,
day
then it-
after
then
months
it-
of this. I looked at the guy that owns it, and I go, "Hold up, I got a question for you." It's like, could I just leave my card on file, and could you just make up some cool ones for like $200 and just do 200? Could you just deliver them for me to the house,
Efficiency,
and I
yeah.
don't even come here? I trust you guys.
But then I got mad at him. He's like, "Why are you mad?" I'm like, "The effort is what I wanted. Like you had to think about it. Now
I
I'm
just-
not. Now you're not thinking about me because they just show up.
Now I just messed the
I'm like,
plan
I can
up.
buy my own flowers.
Just needed one more piece in
Exactly.
there. I need
Yeah.
the flowers delivered over to the side of the house and a text message sent to me. Flowers are
The funny
here,
thing
and they
is-
need to do it on the opposite days every through the week.
Okay, the
change
funny
it
thing
up.
is, I
And then
still
could've handled
get
it.
my flowers. I still get my flowers, but now you just don't get credit for them. I'm like, I'm not going
I
to turn
know.
those flowers down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
But if you want to
was-
go grab
it was
extra
effort.
ones,
Extra
We
credit
start
if you
off
go
with
get
good
'em.
intentions, but
Yeah.
you know, they're always changing their game.
Someone
The mystery of a woman is just that. They're a mystery.
our 18-year wedding anniversary just passed
Monday.
last week.
Wow.
Monday.
That was Monday.
Yeah. And then
Congratulations. Oh, I remember
some
that. I was
flowers
watching
showed up
pictures you
to
guys
my
from
house
River.
on Thursday, and they were pink roses. And then one of his employees said, "Oh, I heard you love pink roses," and I'm like,
Oh,
actually, I like white. I don't know who told you that.
that's funny.
Did you say pink roses?
No, I know what she likes. I had all these systems set up and
make
they're
up
messing
story real
stuff.
quick.
No, I'm not making it up. I had flowers sent to our dinner place that never showed up.
I
So I
know.
was so ticked because I came back. I was like, okay, someone dropped a ball. Because while we were just in, where were we?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. And we had this, just checking out that town, and we got to go to Mar-a-Lago for a beautiful wedding. And what was crazy is I had it all lined up. Nothing I had lined up panned out. So I was like, that's just.
So you
boils
had
my
the
blood.
first date night all dialed in. She didn't show up. And then you have your 18th anniversary all dialed in and no one showed up. And you two did.
Yeah, we should, at least we had a good dinner.
That's good. It
was
Still
amazing.
connecting. But I would say that being intentional these days, you know, it just becomes, it's a new season. Now we're more intentional about how we're going to set up a legacy for our kids. And you said something, of course, we're going to stay in it for the kids. What people don't know biblically, it says when there's a fracture in a marriage, it affects 3 generations of kids.
Yeah.
And like, if we really knew what that would look like, people would figure out like,
Fight.
all right.
Yeah.
But we set up marriage counseling since our first year of marriage every quarter.
Yeah.
So once a quarter, it's
Just in case.
pre-booked, and it's amazing. I'll think everything's great. We'll go, and it's like she pulls out her phone.
I've been making a list for 3 months.
Yes. Oh, and she goes, "Yeah, I'd like to discuss it." I'm like, "You actually take notes?" She goes, "Yeah, I just figured we had this on the books." I get so fired up, and then he goes, "This one's probably going to take 3 sessions." I'm like, "Fine, next week. I'd like to do it tomorrow." And he goes, "No, you need a process." I'm like, but you know, our
you know
marriage
what else?
counselor is hilarious. He says when every time we're arguing, he goes, "Well, your marriage is working." So that's like
he's amazing,
The
yeah.
standard line in our whole church. Someone goes, "Oh yeah, we're you know, we just had this fight," and I go, "Oh," and they go, "I know what you're going to say. Our marriage is working." I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Because you're
debate-
still in the fight. It's when
Yeah.
people stop fighting that this is when like affairs happen and they just
Exactly.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Well, you
You
got to
get
be willing
numb.
to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we started going to, we actually had a pattern for about a year where we go to therapy with our therapist in Zoom in the other room in the house, and we would work out shit for like 2 hours, and then we would come down here and do the podcast right after therapy,
Oh, wow.
hot off the topic.
Sometimes they were good. Sometimes I didn't feel complete in the therapy session, and I was
So
like,
then
"Oh
our
no."
podcast turned into a giant war zone. Some of our best shows were people just listening to us pretty much
We had
argue
like
for an
full
hour and a half.
blown like fights that were like finishing up, and I was like, "Should we post this?" And I was like, "And then people
love it though.
people
They-
that
people
they
like a
said they
fireside
were like
chat.
that was like
It
so
is.
inspirational.
It's
People
like we
wanna
sat in our
see-
therapy session.
People want to see the real stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you get real out of your congregation? So you're in a marriage retreat. Most people in our experience are very
Get away.
uncomfortable.
We don't
Get away,
retreat from
excuse me.
anything.
A little getaway, a little vacation.
Marriage
So
advance.
marriage experience.
Yeah.
Transformative event. All of that, like getting people to be honest in a group about sex and intimacy. Very uncommon. We've even had guests here on the show where no matter what I tried to do, they weren't gonna unleash the beast of the truth. So then the mics are all off and cameras are off, and now the truth's being spilled on our front porch around these topics because people are so sensitive about it. We have our way inside of Warrior with how we do it in line events, but we typically are all guys and all girls, and so they'll open up differently. But with couples all in the room, plus all these other couples in the room, like what's the science to being able to get them to get real?
Yeah, we do breakout sessions. So what we do, we have main sessions where we're teaching principles and biblical principles about how to get your marriage to flourish. And then we do breakouts both days, and you could pick your topics and it's all the hot buttons. We have one on finances. We have one on sexual intimacy, and that's where they do deep dives. And then they flop the next day. So we always encourage you guys get on the same page, go to the one you want to. And usually people that are more, we built a culture.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Yeah.
Our
People are
counselor-
going there with a level of trust already prepared that they're going to need to share and expect breakthrough. So
Yeah,
it's
the
a really great
expectation is
environment.
Really built big, and I always tell people if they've never been to one of our marriage getaways, let me get you the media card from last year because I need you to get your heart right, because either you're going to go and it's going to be a jacuzzi experience and you're going to feel good while you're in it and you'll come back, nothing changes, or you can get prepped, you can do the work, and then when you show up, you can have a transformational experience, which can shift your dynamic of your whole life and your family's life. That's what you got to have. So we try to set it up in a way real intentional. Then when we get there, people will warm up and go to the finance one, or they'll go to the communication one, or but the hot one that everyone loves is the sexual intimacy one. Because here's the truth is, they think just because you're, a lot of couples too that were raised Christian that are trying not to have sex, they're trying to shut down their body for so long. And mentally, they get mentally strong, but then the guy can't go mentally turn it back on. So he doesn't even know how to get it up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So now we're having to tell people, like, don't get so religious about this, that you're trying to ruin yourself. And so there's so much doctrine, mind control, that their sexual life, they feel dirty.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's this religion that made them feel dirty.
Yes.
You know, God created sex. Go read, Songs of Solomon.
Yeah.
It is sexy. You can't even read it without blushing. So it's like, you got to understand, God designed this to be amazing, but there is a world that perverts it. You know, it's like, even right now, OnlyFans. You know, it's destroying men's lives, and they could say, no, I need that. No, here's what you're doing. It's pimping, and it's a digital pimp. And so no one's going to be like, if you were a pimp, you wouldn't have much people respecting you. You know what I mean? OnlyFans is just digital, pimping, and people are getting so messed up in they have an image of what their wife should be, could be. It's all this, sexualization of it. And in their mind, it's getting twisted, and the enemy loves it. And he'll try to put fuel on the fire. And then they're like, oh, we got to watch porn together. Well, actually, there's other things you can do. You can do other things and still be creative without trying to defile anybody. There's so much defilement in sexual relationship. That's why shame comes in. Guilt, I don't use that word anymore the same way. Guilt, I would say, should be a conviction of the Holy Spirit. So if you have the Holy Spirit that's supposed to guide you, lead you, and you feel like a little conviction, or if the word is guilt, it's like, hey, warning, warning. So but shame, that's when guys, when they come to talk to me, they look down. I'm like, what are you looking down at? Because actually, if you knew you were made in the image of God, you were meant to be a king and a priest in this world over your family, you wouldn't look down. You'd be looking me in the eye going, don't let shame, because shame is where the devil now is speaking to you that you're not worthy, that your life sucks, that you weren't meant to do great things. And like the minute they look down, I got to stop them right there, because that physiology is what destroys their marriage, what destroys their leadership, what destroys their vision for the dream they had. I don't ever let a man look down. I said, you can look me in the eye, and then we're going to pray that you get your mojo back.
How does that work from the female side?
I would say a lot of women that have issues in this area have undealt with trauma that they haven't dug deep into getting resolved. And so anytime there's any block there, we recommend getting counseling, getting pastoral care, getting deliverance. And a lot of this happens at our marriage getaway too. We open the sessions with worship. So we have, music, and that is automatically going to bring an atmosphere of faith in the room. And then whoever's speaking is always Holy Spirit led. And at the very end, we open up the altar for people to come and get prayer.
It gets radical.
And people are getting delivered. People are opening up about things that happened to them, things that they did. And a lot of it just comes from not dealing with stuff that they did or got themselves into, or that was done to them. And that takes a lot of deeper work. And so, fortunately, we can recommend people back at home to go back and get more pastoral care or counseling or things like that. So a lot of things are opened up there, and then there's a lot of follow up after that. But for the women, they have to admit reality, like what really happened and how they are operating in that still.
I would say women too, like they do have those blocks, but also if you're uncomfortable, it takes reps. So if you're that person that's like, no, and then all of a sudden you're like, woo, like it just takes reps.
Right. How'd you make the shift? I mean, because this was a thing that was like a problem for us for a long time.
I feel like I was just raised in that shame and guilt and bad. And so it was just like, lights off, like, let's be like, it just felt weird for so long. And then I was like, I don't think it's supposed to feel like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think this is how it's supposed to go. And so it was just me like kind of making that decision.
That's a religious spirit.
Yeah.
That got broken off.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's you literally were programmed
right
a certain way to feel a certain way about how it had to look. And then it's meant to be freedom. And it starts back in the book of Genesis. You look at Adam and Eve, they were walking around naked, living their best life. And then all of a sudden, the minute sin came in and that perversion came in, all of a sudden they had to cover themselves.
Embarrassed.
They were embarrassed. They're like, God didn't create us to be shamed. He like,
Yeah.
but it's amazing how religion can do that to you. That's how you know when there's a religious spirit about it, is because there's so much shame around that bedroom.
Yeah.
Or it's a trauma. And so in that, churches that don't teach on deliverance or they don't teach on soul ties.
Yeah. What is deliverance?
And I would say,
So deliverance.
You go ahead and explain that.
Mike
and then I'll say
Connell, I
something
sent
else.
you some of the links. He's the number one authority. He's actually in town right now. We brought him to our marriage getaway, and he had us face each other, hold our spouse's hand, and then he led us through just some visualizations.
Repentance. So anything that you did that you shouldn't have done, repenting for that. And then what else, what was after?
He was just saying things that you've been holding on to, like secrets that you feel like you can't. So he created this moment of trust with one another. And then he broke it down. He said, stuff is going to come up and we're going to deal with it. And when I say deliverance, so all different ways that we can open up spiritual things. So we are spirits having a physical experience, okay? And so with that, if you are studying anything about spiritual warfare, there is the devil that hates God. The only way that he can get back and really hurt God is through God's greatest creation. And actually, the greatest creation is us humans, male and female. And where it gets tweaky is this. He once realized that man, it wasn't good for man to be alone. So God said, man, I need a help, man. Two are better than one. A 3-crayon sword, if they put me in the middle of it, it's not easily broken. So he's teaching all these principles of how we do things. And even in Genesis, he's teaching a very important principle that before he gave Eve to Adam, he says, I'm going to watch what you call every animal, because what you call them, they become. So it's right in there in between. So it shows the power of the spoken word. What we call our wives is what they become. If you're calling her a witch or a bitch or whatever, that's what she becomes. You created that. You got to be careful what comes out of her mouth. So he's just saying there's so much power and sanctity there, but traumas, and the enemy knows that, all right, that man looks pretty tough spiritually. How do I wound his heart? Well, there's no armor on the side. The only person that has his heart is his spouse. I'm going to go after her. So then she'll inflict pain on him. So he knows all these conniving ways. So then he knows, how I can really mess up God's plan is ruin marriage. So he is full tilt, the enemy, full tilt. I will destroy marriages. And so he'll play every dirty trick in the world. And if he could start with money, if he could start with sex, if he could start with whatever, he'll try to pervert every area to make sure that you don't thrive and your kids don't see something healthy. They need to see brokenness, so then they already know that their life is going to be broken. That's why it repeats, and it's a cycle. And so that's why if we took this more serious than we do our business as men, because we just think we got to be protectors and providers, if we took this one thing, this unit, the most important sacred trust that God could give us, that is the most dear to his heart, and perfect this, it will affect 3 generations, and our kids will thrive, and they'll feel that protection and that providership in that, what that marriage looks like. But it's amazing. So it's the number one thing the devil goes after. And so to you guys to become honed in on helping as many couples as possible is what it takes. Deliverance is just a key. And when you pray for people, since we're spirits, you can open a door. The Bible talks about you got to be careful what spiritual doors you open. So people that are getting into, let's go to a palm reader to see how our marriage is going to turn around. It's not saying you're now going to let a demonic force come in your life, but it's just an open door. You're now letting an open door. Ouija board, open door. Tarot cards, open door. There's so many different religious things that just can open doors. The minute you open the door, something can have access. And when you allow the enemy to have traumas, this is why she was saying so many women have sexual traumas. If they don't deal with that trauma, that's a door left open, and the enemy can come in, create a soul tie with you, and then you start having dark thoughts. And that's not you. We weren't programmed for dark thoughts. Dark thoughts is a demonic spirit of oppression. You can go to certain areas, and I'm very sensitive to this, so you can go to certain parts of town, or you can go to someone's home and you can feel like a darkness or a presence because you're like, you could sense it. I just start praying in tongues. I've had people manifest. Pastor Jurgen used to say, hey, you want to build your inner spiritual man? Start praying in tongues. You need to do it every day for 10 minutes. And then if you want to test you're getting any power, go downtown And we go downtown. I'm like, what's going to go downtown? He goes, you just start praying and you'll see homeless people start manifesting because they've kind of had some trauma. That's why they're homeless. Whatever reason, don't judge it. But start praying. You'll see which ones are demonically oppressed or, have it demonic, even full embodiment of what that is. And so we'd start praying in tongues. And I had this one guy across the way. I'd be whispering. He'd be a block and a half away and he'd stare at me and start screaming at me, running towards me. I'm like, okay, found one.
Oh no.
And it scares you a little bit. But Pastor Jurgen used to call us Ghostbusters and have us go pray for couples. We'd go into houses, start praying for couples that were having a manifestation of demonic activity in their house. And we have so many crazy stories.
Well, something we've had to come against is a generational curse of divorce too. So there's all these different facets. And then there's just the fact that both of our families are divorced. So we both come from divorced families. So we know that we always have to fight against that and break the curse and make a stand that that's not going to happen.
And that we had to took it, and literally, when we got prayed for, I had Pastor Jurgen, I said, hey, I saw on my mom's side, because on my dad's side, no divorce anywhere down the line.
Oh, wow.
My mom's side, 3 generations of divorce, even though my grandpa was a pastor. Wow. But he gave his life to ministry that his family became second fiddle. And so got divorced. My uncle's divorced. My mom, who's the most purest of them all, divorced.
Wow.
And so I knew there's a generational curse on my side. When I had Pastor Jurgen pray for me, I said, I'm breaking it. And I was doing a confession, like I stand against it. I felt something tangible break off me. And I'm like, okay, was that in my head? Was that bull crap? I went through all the stuff and I just go, no, something just happened.
Did you feel lighter?
Oh, I felt I felt like literally the weight of the world break off me. And I said, everything's done from this moment on. And I just said, I'm not going to let chiropractic, I'm not going to let ministry. I'm not going to let other things become more important. We're going to figure this out one step at a time. And I just made a recommitment. We're not going to be a statistic.
So we've seen like a lot of where a guy will start rising in power to try to recreate this connection in marriage. They've gone 10 years. They weren't going to therapy in the beginning. They didn't run away when it was horny 10. And they said, yeah, it's a 10 and we're good because I'm a 10. We're taking it now. Let's go.
I was a 9.
You're 9.
If I was a 10, it was over.
Done. There was no vehicle.
It's over
after 10. Clothes were gone.
Yeah.
So, and they're in this pocket. And like, I mean, you talk about word speaking. We were seeing therapy like probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I had said so many times to her, you just don't want to have sex. You just don't want to have sex. That's the problem is you don't even like sex. You don't want to be. So I'd said this for like 10 years. And then we're sitting in therapy and she comes out of nowhere in therapy and says,
oh no, I was like, no, I want to have good sex. I just don't know if I want to have good sex with you.
Uh-oh.
But we were like in such a dark space. Like we were so disconnected
truth.
that I was like, I don't feel connected to you. Therefore, if I don't feel safe and connected, I don't have that desire. I was like, I know I could probably go meet a guy at a bar and probably have better sex with him because that's how disconnected I felt with my husband. And it almost, there were scars too. There was like scars that I had to be like, I need to like let this go.
Yes.
You know?
Well, it shattered my, so when you're talking about how the man has a responsibility, like this is the same thing you come back to. It's like, I don't know one woman that we've met yet in any relationship with our guys who when the guy consistently shows up connected to God, leading an authority, and has to realize he's been an asshole for 10 years. They'll try to do it for 2 weeks and like, coach, you're not working. I'm like, bro,
2 weeks.
Can we stack the teeter-totter here, bro? You for 10 to 15 years, you ignored this woman. Like, plus you cheated on her. Like, can you just stay consistent to the game? I've not met one woman who doesn't melt into the authority. And it was weird because I had a moment like in this one, she's speaking this, I'm like, this was in contradiction to my own narrative.
Yeah.
So you're talking about speaking prophetically over my wife. I'm speaking prophetically over my wife, telling her she doesn't want these things, while at the same time dying in myself over not getting them. And I'm the fucking problem the whole time. But like this is how dumb we get. The guys are dumb with this. And I think women intuitively, spiritually are much more connected. And they see it. But here's the big question, because it's the same question I'm going to come back to you two. So a guy's consistent. This is a woman answer from both of you. Guy's committed. He's doing the work. He's 6 months in. He's 9 months in. He's pushing. He's doing the date nights and he's flowers and he's coming home and he's being present. He's not talking about himself. And he's just asking about her and he's helping with the kids and he's trying to be supportive, etc. And she's still in rejection mode. Because a lot of our guys get so rejected for so long in marriage, they cannot even fathom being rejected one more time. They'd rather go to porn and jerk off. Because at least there they know they can feel some sense of connection. They don't know how to approach what is the responsibility on the woman's side
to when a man's making this effort to say, hey, at some point you're going to have to like put some lingerie on and get after it.
Yeah.
Like, because this is a part, I can only talk from the guy's side where we're talking, but Danielle's, and I'll hear from both of you about what you think of this, because women at some point have also got to flip a switch.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
What do you think?
I would agree.
Let's go both. I want to hear from the females on this one. Matt and I already know what we think.
I always say, I'm like, women, like, we hold the sex card.
Yes.
Like, we do. And forever I was like, oh, I don't want the sex card. Now I'm like, oh, it's like a superpower. I can do whatever I want.
Yes,
you know, like
exactly.
not in that way, but it's a powerful tool. And it's like, I just had to, when you like came to me and you're like, so in desperation about it, I wasn't feeling like, I felt like I couldn't trust you at that point. And so I was like, why would I want to have sex with you? I can't trust you. But I also was like, you know what? I'm going to show up and make an effort to be sexy for you, to show up flirty, to do this side instead of like wall up and close off and be like, screw him and hold this resentment. I was like, you know what? I'm going to let go of the resentment card because I'm tired of feeling this way.
Yeah.
So even though I wasn't getting everything I wanted, you weren't going in 6 months giving me messages and this and this and that. Like,
Where you just didn't like them, they were too long.
No, but
Send
I
me
remember just
emojis.
thinking like, I'm 50% of the equation.
That's too much love
You
and
are.
gratitude in one message. I can't even read that
Sometimes
much.
it's like a novel and I'm like, I just woke up. Hold on.
She's like, Jesus, did you send me like the book of Garrett chapter 5 and 6?
I think I cracked because I could see the hurt I was causing you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm 50% of this, what's
Yes.
going on. So I'm going to let down my shield and my walls and I'm going to make an effort to be sexy for you. And in turn, I actually felt safer, which is weird because
Yes.
I'm like withholding and feeling resentful. And then I open up more and I'm like, wow, this is a superpower and I feel safe.
Yes.
And so it took me a couple years of like testing the waters, I'll say.
Yeah.
And then I got to this place where I was like, our sex life is on fire. I can't believe I was withholding from myself.
Wow.
Yes.
And so that's kind of
amazing.
where I got to, whereas I understand a lot of your guys that are in the program, they're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I'm like, you need to give yourself some grace because at some point she's going to have to let down her walls.
Yes.
If she's choosing not to and he keeps coming, he might be like, I have to go find another woman because you won't let your
Yes.
walls down.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think it's important for men to be consistent so that the wife feels safe because maybe he abandoned her for 5 years and then he shows up for 3 weeks. 3 weeks isn't going to recover the 5 years that he didn't show up.
Yeah. If he's willing to do the work to show you his love and his care, then it's the wife's responsibility to get the healing that she needs to get to be able to move forward. And you did the right thing because it's true. We have a responsibility. At the end of the day, it's our responsibility to provide that to our husband.
Right.
And so then it's also a responsibility to deal with our ish so that we can be free, so that we can live how God intended us to live. So he's got a job. We've got a job. We have to hold our part of the bargain, our
Right.
part of the commitment, our part of the vow
Right.
in the marriage to bring that to the man.
It's funny. I don't know if you guys experience this, but there's even times where Garrett and I will be really busy, and there's almost like a little bit of like a separation or disconnect. And I'm like, okay, come on, we got to go have a date night, or we just go have a quickie or whatever it is, because I feel like it is like a tool to like helps us keep
Oh,
connected.
totally.
Did I
is.
just not get this heat the other day?
You're like, oh,
Get over here now. I feel so disconnected from you.
Yeah.
I'm like, we not with our kids. We're across the country. We're only together. I feel disconnected to you. Hey, it doesn't make sense. We had lunch together.
yeah.
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 She's like, get
But-
your clothes off and
Yeah.
take
It's like
me.
you were on your phone.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
goes, you were on your phone, you respond. I'm like, but we're together. She goes, no. And she was ticked. I could tell it was next level. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how do I reconnect? Like, I had to just get out of my head and be, all right, babe, I'm going to listen to you. If you're going to verbally just tell me we're feeling disconnected, I've already missed the warning signs. I've already missed the flirtation. I've already missed some stuff, you know, and I was just in some driver mode stuff.
Right.
But she had to tell me, I'm feeling disconnected. And even though I didn't agree with her, the minute we reconnected, I felt our whole world change.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why did I wait so long?
That's so funny how marriages you can put in the time, but you're not actually like connecting because your brain is like in business mode. And so that's when you're like, we just had lunch together, but you're already thinking about 10 other things inside of your business. And so it's like something about that. It's just like all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, we're good. We're like, we're connected again.
Well,
Yeah.
that's that sexual intimacy. It's more powerful than we could ever think. You
Right.
know?
So
And,
powerful.
You know, I thought maybe just holding their hands across the street from the hotel over to, if I took her to Restoration Hardware, man, that's the money game. No, did nothing. It's she needed that intimacy. And, you know, we, as men, we just can't. I was just so busy driver mode that I thought we were connecting all day.
Yeah. You
And
know-
it- zero.
You know what's so powerful about it? And this is what I noticed with him. It's like when you get that out of the way, it's like he melts. I'm like, oh, you see me again. Thank you.
It's
I'm
the
like,
post-orgasm
hello.
power pocket.
Welcome back. I'm sorry I
true.
lost you for a few days.
Well, we'll go on vacation. So I used to hate vacation. I was like, fuck vacations. I'm not doing it because
we would go.
Well,
we'd
'cause
be
I was in
gone for like
withhold
5-6
mode,
days, and
so-
she's in a bikini, hot as hell. I can't focus on business,
Oh
and
my
I'm like
God.
looking at her, and I'm like,
Same thing.
I'm like looking at her ass.
He's
I'm
the
like,
same.
Jesus, like I'm like, and like, what are we doing? We're just laying here on the beach all day, and I'm like, I can't work. I'm just sitting here, and I just keep looking at you, and I'm like, are we gonna have sex already? Like, we should do this, and like, we would go days and like not have sex on vacation. So vacation became this place where I was like, this is a fucking torture box. I would rather stay home and work and never go on vacation. She's like, why do you want to go on vacation? I was like, because it is complete torture.
Yeah.
You're hot. I got nothing to focus on but you, and you don't want to have sex 5 times a day. So I'm like, not sure what to do with myself. So we started this thing. She picked it up and she's like, here's what we're going to do. The minute we get to anywhere we go on vacation, even if it's a staycation, the minute we walk in, we have sex. She'll jump on
You
me
can
and
relax.
take me.
It's like giving you a cocktail. I'm like, here.
She
That's
figured out
Pastor
a
Lee's
magic
ninja
button.
tricks
That's her
too.
ninja
She's
trick,
like,
yeah.
I am going to take you and drain you so that you can be peaceful
Then we
and
can
connected.
go have fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ninja tricks right
Yeah.
there.
That's it.
Yes, super
Yeah.
ninja woman tricks.
That's all. Hey, if it's just a one book, one chapter, that's all you need.
That's it.
That's it.
It's it.
That right
Date
there
your
is going to
wife,
help
one
so
verse.
many.
Yeah.
It's just one paragraph. The whole book. It's just have sex right when you go on vacation.
Yeah,
Yes.
start. Don't
Start.
finish.
That's called
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's how we get what we want out of the vacation. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're so relaxed and it's gonna be fun. now.
We went through some rough times.
I just think because we were raised in this just such a different box being raised Mormon. It
Yeah.
just was so much that we got married young, did all the checklists, and then realized we're like, wait, none of that worked for us.
Yeah.
And then it was like we had to start our marriage over. And-
Wow.
But it was painful, but we just kept fighting together. And now I feel like we can relate to so many couples. Yeah. And it's great. So we just keep sharing our story, thinking like, hey, we're not perfect, but we stayed in the fight and
Yeah.
we're still here. And now we're in a really good spot. Like every year I feel like, oh, got a little better. Oh, got a little better, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
That's
worth
amazing. It is worth it.
So this marriage retreat. Tell us a little bit more. You guys are going to do
away.
one in June. Yeah, not retreat. Sorry.
Where are we at?
Look
Let's
how
see.
trained
It's
I
not
am.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
slipping
right.
back into my
A
own
retreat
scars.
from nothing.
Going to a retreat, the marriage getaway. What is the name of this marriage getaway?
Marriage getaway.
marriage
That's what it's called. Marriage
Yeah.
getaway. Oh, that's easy. Easy marketing.
It-
Where we
we
going? Marriage getaway. What's it
We
called?
go
Marriage
to we
getaway.
go to La Quinta in Palm Springs on, let's see, I think it's June 3rd. It's the first weekend of June. Oh no, it's not. It's Father's Day weekend
Father's
this
Day
year.
weekend.
We just moved it to Father's
love
Day
it.
weekend, so that's
Okay.
fun. Not Sunday though, so you can be back. The dads can be back to their kids, but Thursday until Saturday, and we have cocktail party Thursday night, welcome party, hang out, have fun, have DJ and lawn games and all the things out there in Palm Springs where it's sunny all the time.
We're
All the
famous
time.
for Friday. The video that went viral. It was Friday. We do sessions all morning, and then we do breakouts. And then after breakouts, you're by the pool. We throw the most insane pool party. We hire DJs.
So fun.
So fun.
I'm telling you.
We bring a host.
This is like the church. I'm
We throw a
telling
pool
you.
party.
This
and
is it.
A couple years ago, 2 years ago, at the Esmeralda, the pool is pretty big. We started this whirlpool.
A massive whirlpool.
Massive. And
It was so fun.
literally, it got so big that it sucked down to the
Oh, no.
bottom of the pool in the middle, and people were getting caught up. We had to rescue women,
Yeah.
bathing suits.
We
falling
had-
out. We're like, oh my gosh, this just went.
Deliverance.
It just went a little
No,
too far.
This just went too far. We're like,
We
okay.
reined it back.
We had to rein it back. It was so. I mean, and then the video, someone's videoing it. It went viral, and they're like,
That's funny.
You just saw the church hate. What church would? We're like,
The right church.
yeah.
The right church
Yeah,
is the
well, you
one.
know what? They were letting go. They had a little trauma earlier. This has been just, you know.
This is reconnecting.
So I literally we had to teach on. All right, listen.
Ourselves.
I know we're going to do a lot of healing this morning,
Right.
But don't get too excited and start pounding too many margaritas.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
At the pool.
110 out at
Yeah.
the pool. Last year, this is
Hydrate
what
with
happened.
water.
This year, we just want to, you know.
There's always
have-
somebody who has to
Oh.
bend the rules, and then you got to have rules.
Oh no,
Then you have to have
we are
rules.
not into that. But we just had to set some better boundaries
Yeah.
because it got so crazy.
funny.
But every
And then-
year has been something wild.
And then we do really
Date
cool
night.
Friday
We do-
night.
We have date boxes that we have our team put together.
Okay.
And they're little. Some people, these are military couples. They don't have any money, and we try to bless as many couples as we can on date nights. We give them ideas. We teach them all these ideas.
We
And then
put
have-
question starters in there.
Yeah.
Or conversation starters, because some couples will go out and they're like,
They
what are
don't
we
even know what to
talking
talk about.
Yeah.
So we put that in there.
No.
We make a reservation at a restaurant for them, so
we
they
book
don't
out
even have to
every
research
restaurant
it.
from high to low, the
Cute.
highest end one in Palm Springs, all the way to some lower budget ones that are still have atmosphere. We're trying
Yeah.
to teach atmosphere, and then we say date your wife, don't do couple stuff, and then what we throw an after party where everyone can come hang out because some of these couples we go to all different campuses, they all just want to spend time, so they date their wife, have these conversations. Some of them haven't had these deep conversations; they're going straight to the room.
Yeah.
You can tell on
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday morning. Those guys that haven't had sex in 6 months are like,
Like, hey, it works.
you
ready
know,
for anything.
and that's our goal.
This is the greatest getaway ever. Bring
yeah.
on the whirlpool.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you can just see Saturday is a different vibe. So we set all the heavy work on Friday, healing, intimacy, and then on Saturday, how to package it and set them up to send them out and thrive. And it's been a formula. I feel like God put his hand on it, and it's been this formula the couples, it's been amazing. And then literally we have all these marriage and family therapists that we have vetted. Like
That are on site.
Yep.
Well, that we have some on site. We have some pastors just to do deliverance, just to do therapy, and then when they come back, we can get them booked in with any of them, and we've already vetted them, so they're not just these onesie pansy, therapists that are given.
So can people
fluff.
register like right now? Listen to the show for the event. Is there a registration
Absolutely.
up yet?
Oh yeah, it's already.
Just on the Awaken Church
It's at
website
the Awaken
or the
Church
app.
website.
Yeah, just
Okay.
go to Marriage Getaway and you can register now.
Okay, so
We
I'll
already
put
halfway
Awaken Church-
going to go.
We're already halfway sold out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can
So-
sell you
And
out
it's not
with the
till
show.
June?
It's in June.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That's
Okay.
June
fantastic.
2025.
We'd love to come with you guys.
Oh,
We'll come back from Miami. Listen, we come back for an event like this because like this is like I'm telling you, when I came to your men's group, I couldn't understand because that's the world I live in, and we created that environment at Warrior, but it wasn't under a very focused Christian frame. It's it's a different frame in Warrior. We have way more of that now with the integration of the business Bible and so much of our commitment to it that direction, which was inspired by you and many others who showed me a path of like, hey, you can have fun, you can be human, and you can be connected to God in a community. Like that's possible. So when I went out to your guys' property, the whole night I was like, I'm at a church thing, but my brain has no box to put what this is because it feels like I'm hanging out with the boys, and I am, but like real hang out with the boys, like not like we're at a church event, hang out with the boys. It's like we're hanging out with the boys plus all the other stuff that was happening the whole time. The conversations I was in. The conversation I was in with you guys were praying over me. It was the first time I had anyone pray over me over tongues, and then you had me try it, and I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And I had like 5 people encouraging me, and I'm like, okay, let's get a run for it. Let's make a run. And I'm like feeling weird, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But all this is happening while rolling cigars, drinking whiskey, hanging out. People were playing pool. Like it was amazing. So like the environment, Pastor Jurgen, you saw Pastor Jurgen when he came to Ocean Church. He came and spoke like twice, and like everybody loved him. He's like pure fire.
Amazing.
So Awaken Church, you guys pastor this too. So like tell us a little bit about like the services and like what happens, like how people can get plugged into Awaken Church. We actually refer your church, Awaken Church, in all of our Words for Christ calls. We were like, hey, if you don't got a place to go to, you got 2 here.
Come on.
I got 2 pastors, Awaken Church in South California, as well as Orange County. We got Ocean Church with Pastor Mark, Pastor Hubbard. Check
I've had
both of them
people
out
reach
online.
out to me. Like there's a big, I take care of a lot of dudes that are trying to level up their life, and they'll always tell me like, "Oh man, did you hear Garrett say he was fire? Give a shout out." And so I go, "Oh man, it's pretty amazing," because a lot of guys that they're a little bit nervous to come into church due to that, and you help them find a bridge back to get over it, and I can relate to that. So I love meeting those guys because I know if they're listening to you, they're all about business, they're all about leveling up their life. They're just a little bit nervous about that God thing.
Well, it's trying to come into a container where most people are so used to hearing the conversation of God. I was even sharing this with Pastor Mark. I was like, bro, we got to do something different with the way this men's group is working, because like the dudes that are in here, I'm with these guys outside and like at my house and in different places, and they're not like the guys that are sitting in this room right now.
Wow.
Meaning these are 2 different guys, just so you know. And it's nothing he was doing wrong at all. It was just the environment guys get so used to.
They wouldn't even feel safe.
Hardcore dudes who are savages for the kingdom will walk across this threshold and all of a sudden become wet puppies.
Yeah.
You're like, what happened to you, dude? God needs you to fight on the front line of this thing like right now. Like you have no problem with darkness. I need you to run into the darkness and turn a light on.
Come on.
So coming into church is like hard because the story for guys has always been, and our guys is like, I gotta talk a certain way, and I have to like filter myself, and I have to say the right words, and I don't know, I can't even find the Bible. There's no tabs. I don't know where the Old Testament, New Testament is. I'm feeling confused. Now they're making me read. Holy shit, I can't be here. I'm just gonna watch it online.
Yeah.
And that's what they end up doing because they're nervous. So guys that are in Southern California,
Those guys
I
need
bring
to
them
go.
to men's prayer.
Men's prayer. I was going to say that's his engine room.
That's my engine room.
Come on.
Tell us about it.
Literally, it started out of craziness. When we got married, there was this one couple, and the wife texted us and said, hey, my husband's in the hospital. He was a good friend of mine, didn't go to our church. And he goes, and she said, my husband says you go to that church that believes in healing. Can you have the pastor come pray? Fast forward this whole thing. I called up Pastor Jurgen. I said, hey, they act like I'm going to come pray for this guy. I don't know what I'm doing. Just because I go to your church doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. You got to come pray. And he goes, dude, I'm at LAX about to go back to speak at a men's conference in Australia. You got to call this other guy, Pastor Mark. I said, I don't know. Our church was small. And I said, I don't know Pastor Mark. He goes, yeah, he just flew in from Australia. He's now going to our church. He just moved here Sunday. I said, the guy just met on Sunday. I'm going to randomly call this guy, and he's going to come pray for my friend who he doesn't know, just way outside my realm.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And I said, all right. So I called this guy and I said, hey, Pastor Jurgen said, you would come pray for my friend in the hospital, even though you don't know him? He goes, yeah, what day? I said, well, this Monday, can we do it tomorrow? And he goes, yep, meet you at your office. He shows up into my office. We're driving to the hospital. I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. This dude's a random, doesn't even know this guy. He's going to say yes to praying. He goes, yeah, I got a word for your friend. He's going to get healed. And now I'm like, okay. Oh, bro, that's a little weird for me. And so I'm panicking, going, who am I bringing to this? We walk in the hospital room. It was never my buddy John's in the bed. He used to play for the Florida Marlins, total stud, kidney failure. They said, get your life in order. Really, do you have your trust? Do you have your life insurance policies? This is not looking good. Everyone in his family, and then 2 other couples I knew. And I'll never forget, this dude rolls up in the hospital, looks at everybody in the room and goes, does everyone believe he can get healed? He said it with such authority. They're all like, yeah, because if you don't, I need you to leave. And he goes, John, you're getting healed today. This is the word that the Lord gave me right out of Isaiah, read the scripture over him. And I'm thinking to myself, I could tell his wife was looking at me like, who the H did you bring? You know, I'm like, and I'm just sweating. And he's like, just stretch out your hands. I'm like, oh, I'm stretching out my hand. I'm closing my eyes. Next thing you know, he starts praying. I've never felt it in my life. This is the first time ever. I felt it a lot since. Boom. I just felt this weight hit me. I started weeping. I opened my eyes going, oh my gosh, did I have too much testosterone? Did I eat chicken today? What's going on? Why am I crying? I look up. Everyone in the room is bawling.
Power God
no one
just
said a
filled
thing.
the room.
And then he said, all right,
wow,
request a blood lab. It's going to come back normal. And the wife goes, well, they're doing a biopsy in the morning. This is night, like 8 o'clock at night now. And he goes, they're doing a biopsy in the morning. And he goes, no, they're not. I said, do a blood lab. It's going to come back normal. She goes, well, it's already, do you want to see a miracle? And so she checked herself. Guess what? The next morning, they did a blood work. Doctors came in, said, hey, something was wrong. Did another blood work. Something was wrong. 3rd time. Yeah, everything's coming back normal. It's the 3rd test we've run. We don't know too. We're going to monitor you one more day. This is not right. It was in kidney failure. And it was like they're trying to figure out, could they get a kidney donor? This is how serious it was. Right. Well, on the way home, so he got released, by the way. They did switch churches. They came. Now they're campus pastors, over 3 of our campus pastors. He walks an anointing of healing. Matter of fact, he'll go lay hands on anybody and they get radically healed. I mean, he walks. You don't mess with Pastor John now. He's a force to reckon with.
Awesome.
And he's like a wrecking ball for the enemy. Man, he is so, he's like, he'll go pray at hospitals for anybody anytime. So it's pretty epic to see. But long story short, I got in the car and I said, where did you learn how to pray like that? And he goes, 3 books. Told me those 3 books, Prayer Evangelism, Prayer Revival, and God's Generals. I literally ordered them that day. I devoured them by the end of the week, and I realized I don't even know how to pray. I was like, I called my mom and dad, gave them a hard time. It's like, Mom, I just witnessed the most insane thing in my life. My buddy just got healed. And my mom goes, well, yeah, you don't know how to pray? I'm like, Mom, when did you prayed over dinner? Did you ever teach me? I didn't go to school. They didn't teach you how to pray. I don't, none of this. I'm reading these 3 books that are melting my mind right now. And I just realized I did not know how to pray. And if anyone ever called me on a day, you know, like, can you pray for me? Or what if I'm out and about and something crazy happens and all I got is a prayer? Like, would I even know what to say?
Yeah.
And I realized it's like anything. You got to put your reps in. And so
you started 5 a.m. men's prayer. We were newly married. He started in our house, and I was so ticked every single Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, 5 a.m. But here's the first Tuesday. The first Tuesday, we all stared at each other. We didn't know what to say. You could read all the books if you want, but if you don't know how to apply it, you're
Yeah,
lost.
it doesn't
So we
matter.
all stare at each other. I'm like, well, this is the worst prayer meeting ever. So I called that Mark guy and I said, you need to come. He goes, I don't get up at 5. I'll be there at 7. So he came and ran our first official one at 7.
Your wife's like,
It,
yes.
it was so radical. He had words of knowledge prayed over us. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Then the next week, we knew the model. God spoke to me about something. We started just going after some stuff. It grew to like
So now what happens there?
20, 30, 40 people in my house. My wife is getting so pissed because I'd come up going, babe, you wouldn't believe what happened. She goes, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
She needs her sleep. That's the one
I'm
thing
like,
I've
keep
learned.
those guys
Yeah,
here
yeah.
because
She
they're going
needs
to
a
have to pray you
protein
back to
bar.
life.
Yeah, yeah.
And she needs sleep. You take away sleep.
Yeah, we need sleep.
I put away guns. I put away knives.
But with the
I don't
knives
want
you
to get
gave us.
castrated.
No, he
and
literally
she's
did. He
just
locked
ballsy
him up.
enough to do it.
Yeah.
I know she would cut me. She totally would. There's a couple things. Fear of the Lord and
I
fear
did
of my
throat
wife.
punch you one time.
She throat punched me one time in front of my brother
He
and
deserved
another
it.
pastor.
He totally deserved it.
We were out of the river and we had a
Okay,
little baby.
no,
and she
no,
throat
don't
punched me. Oh,
Don't tell
I
the
was
story.
like in front of my brother. Did you just throat punch me? She goes, you deserve. And one of the guys hit my brother, and everybody got in between us. And in my brain, I'm like, my wife just throw. And I couldn't even talk. She hit me so hard because I was getting intense with her, and she goes, "Don't talk to me that way." Bam! I was like, where did she learn that?
I also had a 4-month-old baby. It was 115 degrees
Oh, geez.
outside.
You're like, do not mess with
and
me.
I needed food and a lot of sleep.
Oh, dude, I learned. I will never talk to her that way.
Anyways.
I've never. She's got the most. I probably still have a throat challenge because of it. All right, fast forward.
Tell
Sorry.
them what happens at 5 a.m. men's prayer
5
now.
a.m. prayer. Now just start. It's at every campus. We'll have over 300
He
guys on
started
Tuesday.
it. Now it's
Wow.
every.
It's
all
at every campus.
Every campus has hundreds of guys.
It tells
hundreds.
me.
Wow.
I could hear the
But
men.
it's not just like the guys getting together to pray.
No.
I mean, you can obviously speak
No,
into
yeah.
this better than I could, but from what I hear, it's the most authentic group of men that
Yeah.
are willing to share anything to get their breakthrough.
That's awesome.
And then they
Yeah.
pray and they
So,
learn how to fight
I do
for their
God
families.
stories
Awesome.
because God showed me you're going to start off with building a room of faith. So we talk about God stories, and what I do is I'll just call on people. They'll share a God story, something radical that happened in their life that it could only be attested to God. Now, are they all God stories? Probably 80-20 rule. You know what I mean? But I wait till a certain faith level in the room.
Yeah.
And when I feel the faith is rise, then I get in groups and I teach them. And God showed me a vision a long time. You're going to start this. It's going to be like The Last Samurai. So in the movie The Last Samurai, Tom Cruise would go to the different circles and learn how to use nunchucks, learn how to use swords, learn all these different techniques of weaponry. God showed me that they're going to get in groups and you're going to show them different types to weaponry. They're going to learn how to prophesy. They're going to learn how to lay hands on people. They're going to learn how to do deliverance. They're going to learn everything. I didn't know anything. And I was really insecure about everything, being around that power, that authority. And my job is to equip them with the weapons of their warfare. These hands were trained for battle. And so I teach them, you could be the biggest man you want to be. I don't care how yoked you are, how many tats you got, what you look like. I need your spirit, man, to be so big. When you walk in a room, every spirit that isn't of the kingdom of God is intimidated by you and it will flee. Because when you walk in, no matter your physical size, your spiritual size will dictate every authority that you carry. So I've just trained these men. That's why you can come to an event and like they know their identity in Christ and they know like a whiskey isn't defining them. They don't have a drink. I don't drink in front of people with drinking problems, but I have no problem. Like, we love our wine. I should be a sommelier for good wine, but you know what I mean? But there's a time and a place and we're not going to, get crazy, but I want to be the best sommelier for whiskey. It's a thing now. Now I'm probably better tequila taster than anyone I know. You know what I mean?
It's true.
No shame in the game, but you also got to know that God has given us authority to rule and reign in this life. And you can't be afraid of the world. You just can't get sucked into the world.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to get dirty. I'll pray that dirt right off me. And so teaching men how to pray with authority, this is why women find it so sexy, is because they get their man back, comes in their
So
home,
many
starts
marriages
praying
have been
over their
saved just from
Because the
this.
authority.
they pray over their home.
Yes.
They go, baby, we're taking communion. There's a devil in this house. We got to pray for
every
our kids.
woman wants that. It's like
They want that
that's how
safety.
we were made.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like we want to follow that. We
Right.
want to submit to that. That's something we can submit to.
Right.
So it started out of an insecurity, basically. And now every man get equipped with that same power. They have it.
So to come into your campus, your campus is where?
So we have San Marcos campus
Okay.
off the 78 down in close to San Diego.
Okay.
And we have services Wednesday nights. We have live stream also, but if you're out of town, go to live stream. If you're in town, come live.
Got it.
Like they got to come live. And then Sundays 9 and 11.
Awesome. We know we've had a ton watch online, like hundreds of our guys.
and their spouses. The same thing with Ocean's Church, like both, they'll kind of bounce back and forth, but then they'll kind of find their attraction factor into yours, or they'll like into Mark's and back and forth. It's like the support, and it's beautiful. Again, coming from our world, like the pastoral world, I mean, I thought pastors were pussies. I was like, I just want nothing to do with them. And then I started meeting like real pastors, like you, like Mark, like, and I've met like 20, 30, 40 others that are just like you guys. So it's really shedding away my narrative too, because like I'd only known this cookie cutter Omaha, Nebraska, khaki pant plaid shirt, tassels on their shoes, just like very.
That's like Arizona life. Was
you just kind of disgust me. I don't want to even listen to you because there was nothing real to it. There was no expression of the full keyboard of life. And watching people like you guys who live the full keyboard of life, but still stand powerful. You can be savages, you can be saints, and your souls that are leading the game. This is what people need. This is what the guys that follow me, this is what the women that follow us, the couples that follow us, like they're looking and they're hungry for this. We have tools in Warrior, but there's a piece in this with the church and a piece with this with pastors who actually know how to lead them this way.
Yeah.
And like, I look at Warrior as a place we're going to weaponize these guys with the tools to live their lives in power, but that piece will get them to a place. And then to get their families and to get their wives and to get their kids and to get the unit going, they have to have a community. They've got to have something local that they can step into and connect to. And you two are doing amazing work. This was you guys. This was one of the funnest shows. I don't think I've
I just
laughed
feel like
this
I learned
much.
a lot. I was like, okay.
I love it.
I just realized I got to make sure I'm not getting the Christian-y language. I always say,
I know.
Well, that's what anything that I
gotta
didn't
stay
understand.
relatable.
I was like, tell me about that. Because
I
a
love
lot
that.
of
I know,
people, we
this is so
assume that
helpful.
Well, most people are asking that same question.
Well, I
More than half our listeners would be like, "What? What
I just
deliverance?
barely
What does
heard
that
of
mean?"
deliverance because when I had a podcast with a girl and she's like, you need to come. I was like, ooh, sounds fun. What is it? Like, I didn't know anything about it. Even though we've gone to Oceans, like on and off, I wasn't raised in this culture and community.
Right.
So it's still very new to me.
and it's not like you're doing deliverance every Sunday. There's a time and the place,
Right. Exactly.
you know, and it's you want to teach people. But I always tell it, I want to get every man equipped to learn those principles of authority and deliverance, so you can go. You know, you got your kid off the rails. You go, baby, let me pray for you.
Yeah.
Give me your hands. That's what I do when I have people, like right now, there's a big thing that all these witches, I don't know if you've seen online, they're all going to Salem for the 31st to pray against Trump, to curse Trump. And they said, we don't know why our curses aren't working. There's something protecting him. So we all need to come together. And then that's the type in me going, I think I need to go to that witch thing. And I'm going to say, lay out your hands. Give me your hands. You put your little curse on me and watch what I'm gonna pray for you. Every single time, God's power trumps them all.
Yeah.
And you know, I just
Literally
tell people,
trumps them all.
trumps them all. That's right.
2024.
Come on.
2025.
But it's so important. Like if you know that authority, these other things, they will flee. And so when you understand that and you're praying for someone and you just see it, I mean, once you do deliverance, this is why I'm saying it's a very interesting thing. It was juice for me. Because when I had my first demon talk to me, it changed me forever. Because it made this whole spiritual, we're spirits having a physical experience. You could say that all you want, but until you have another spirit take over somebody and start talking to you, I mean,
That happened.
I didn't
It's
pee my
wild.
pants, but I was this close. I was like, oh my gosh.
This
But
is
thank
real.
goodness I had someone like next to me
Yeah.
that took authority and boom. And then I'm like, okay, I'm never going to get caught with my pants down again. I'm going to go learn my authority. I studied every book I could on deliverance for about 6 months. And I realized I'm getting into something that's way above my pay grade, but it was the most fascinating thing I could ever do. So it's one of those ones that people that are called to it, they're called to it. And some Christians, they don't want to hear anything about it. Don't tell me, no. I don't want to know about demons.
Most Christians don't want to hear anything about it. Most. That's why you draw. I mean, that's why you draw the people that you draw, and that's why the church is growing, and it's why you guys are expanding out to Palm Beach. I mean, it's exciting moves for the church, exciting moves for you
prophesying
too.
right now?
Yeah,
just
I'm
prophesying.
prophesying. Let's go.
Did you
Wow.
hear that?
Sounds
go.
cool.
Oh,
Man,
I like
that felt
that.
prophetic
Let's
to
go.
me.
That's-
Let's go.
That would
Speak
be
to it.
close to you guys, right?
It'll be down the road from us. Definitely
Oh,
drivable.
come on.
Yeah. So you two have crushed the show today. We loved having
Thank
both of
you.
you.
Thanks for having
You
us.
did so
You guys
great.
are amazing.
You did so great. Well, we can tell she's your rudder. She's your
Dude,
framework.
that would be not where I am without this rudder.
I loved it. On the last story, she's like, and now let's come back to how it is now. Another story. Come back to how it is now. Listen, I
she
love
This
it.
is
I
my
can
life.
listen.
This is my life. You guys. Bring it in.
Swoop it back. Swoop it back.
When we were at this wedding the other day, she goes, if you go talk to one more person, I'm leaving without you. I'm like, no problem. No problem. Give me your hand. I just held her hand.
After
I'm like,
4 hours of that, I had to finally put
she
my
had to
foot
come
down.
bring me. I'm like, just lead me the right way. She's like, I'm
does the
I
leading
same
am
you
thing.
like,
home.
oh,
She'll
nope.
do the
I
same
like buffer.
thing.
I'm like, he's got to go.
Yes.
She'll like walk right up in a conversation and she's like, you guys are amazing and he's got to go now. What? See?
It's fine. It's our job. It's our
All right,
job.
baby, you want to close this up?
Oh, sure. All right, you guys, we've had an amazing conversation. I was just like enamored with everything you guys are saying. I was like, oh, I love this. So if you guys do us one favor when you're watching this show, if you felt impact from it, share it. Because really, that's truthfully how anybody can hear all about you guys, your church. You're doing amazing things. So again, tune in to Date Your Wife every single week, but make sure, if anything, you share it. So that's pretty much it for this week. And I don't know if Gary, if you have any other plugs you want to.
I always have a plug. All right,
Tell
check it
them where
out.
to find out,
Awaken
Warrior.
Church, Awaken Church, Awaken Church, Awaken Church. All over Southern California, also in Utah. There's a big
And
campus.
Boise
Seattle,
now.
and
And
Boise.
Seattle.
And
just launched.
Seattle. And
11.
Palm Beach coming soon.
Come on.
Palm Beach.
Come on, Palm Beach. Who knows?
We're just
Maybe
being a
I'll be
little selfish.
pastor of
We're,
Awaken
it's
Church
going
after
that
my
way.
tutelage under Dr. Hubbard. Anyways, Awaken Church, you check it out there. Also, the marriage retreat. The marriage getaway. The marriage getaway. I caught it
Come
that
on.
time. I caught it.
Reprogrammed, baby.
I caught it. The marriage getaway. You can find that at theawakenchurch.com. Is it awaken.com or awaken
Awakenchurch.com.
Awakenchurch.com. Also, the backside tools of everything that we work on here is the Warrior's Way. If you are a man and or woman, you're looking to find tools to operate on a daily basis to help you put yourself in a predictable power. Well, we've been teaching it here for the last 12 years, over 65,000 men, 10,000 women. We'd love to help you out too. You can check out a free trial of the tools and have an experience with it by going to wakeupwarrior.com. Thank you so much to the Hubbards and to their amazing energy and message here. I'm constantly going to have a whole bunch of couples heading to the marriage getaway
Come on.
and attend Awaken Church either online or in person. Thanks so much for being here. This is another episode of the Date Your Wife podcast.